The class of 2025 certainly left a lasting impact on West Bloomfield High School, taking a hands-on approach to learning with their signature determination and curiosity. Here with even more insight on this historic graduating class is West Bloomfield High School Principal Eric Pace. Mr. Pace, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on to talk about the class of 2025, as you also have an opportunity now to, and as do your colleagues at West Bloomfield High School, to reflect on their 4 years at West Bloomfield. We talk so much about the academic accomplishments, the artistic and the athletic accomplishments, but in your opinion, having witnessed their journey along these 4 years, what do you think ultimately defines this graduating class?
Yeah, I would narrow it down to 2 words, leadership and resilience. So this group, as we watched them navigate these last 4 years, really made the school their own, are role models for the classes below them, and took it upon themselves to kind of expand the culture and the spirit here within the high school, overcoming any obstacles that came their way, but really it was a palpable feeling of excitement with this group.
Yeah, resilience and leadership, we tie back to just thinking 4 years ago, 2021, we're just getting back into the classroom after the COVID-19 pandemic, and the class of 2025 had the unique perspective of being that class that reacclimates themselves to the in-school environment while learning to be high school students without necessarily being able to witness what that looked like pre and post pandemic. They get to set the tone. So how do you think that this class did that in the 4 years that they had post pandemic?
Yeah, what's interesting is I used to work in at Abbott Middle School, which is now Chico, and middle school is really about social development and learning how to interact with your peers, with your schooling, as you grow up to be a teenager and an adult. And so these students that just graduated, their middle school experience was abbreviated and it was different. And so when they came in as high schoolers, they had missed out on some of the social learning. They came in academically prepared and demonstrated that right away. And so what they were able to do is lean on each other to navigate what it's like to be a teenager and to encounter, peer conflict and celebration, changing of friends. And they did that really with grace. And, it was their opportunity and they took full advantage of it to leave that mark here on the school and show everybody else how to do it.
And along the way, they had their own set of individual and collective accomplishments too, especially as they noticed some of the issues that were affecting their classmates and affecting their community, and in many ways took direct charge themselves to address those issues. I think about the recognition of WB Has Heart over the last year or so, addressing cardiac arrest in students of their age. I think about the millions upon millions of dollars that were just announced in the last 2 weeks for the class of 2025 in scholarships. I think what I've observed, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the class of 2025's approach to their learning has been really to take the reins themselves and not wait around for the opportunity to have the experiences that they're looking for in life.
You're exactly right. They were, even as freshmen, they were not the immature, naive, and kind of waiting scared group. They really, even at our PEP assemblies, right, where we have class competitions, they gave the seniors a run for their money right away. And you could tell it was a very special group who, like you said, isn't going to wait around for anybody else to tell them how to feel or what to do. They make it their own and they lead in the way that they do it. So it was really exciting and really fun, honestly, to be their principal for those 4 years, because they taught me a lot too on what we can expect in terms of culture and what we can expect in terms of student behavior, and really, it hit the ground running as 14 and 15-year-olds when they're freshmen.
And that's an interesting point that you make too, that they teach educators like yourself a little bit about the job, because much like you said, when you were a middle school educator, that's a lot about social development. High school is really about getting them ready to the day after they graduate. They're adults. They got to be able to take control of their own life day to day. But from seeing and observing their approach to their learning, their approach to addressing issues that are important to them, how does that maybe redefine for you and for your colleagues at West Bloomfield High School how you approach the class of 2026, 27, and so on?
Yeah, I think we all try and learn each year. And from this group, we learned that the power of student voice and the power of their grit and determination. So, as we move forward into the coming years, to lean on the students themselves for what they want school to be, what they can get out of it, and then try and maximize that in terms of outcomes for them. It's their school, and we're all here to make sure that they get everything they can out of it. And so to lean on that early, to listen, collect feedback, and then make adjustments to give them all that they can take.
What do you hope, if there are a certain number of qualities that the class of 2026, as they now rise into the position of senior leadership in West Bloomfield High School, what do you hope that they continue on from the class of 2025 to continue to improve an already very impressive student body at West Bloomfield High School?
Yeah, we already have. You mentioned the WB has heart, for example. So we've got some 11th grade students that have really stepped into some leadership roles. I would say to expand upon and continue the service to our community, our school community, and our greater community. That's something that, as one of the larger organizations within West Bloomfield, we have a lot of capability and opportunity to have a lot of influence. And so the students themselves have already taken it upon themselves to step into that role, and I would love to see that expand. Same with our National Honor Society students, with their community outreach and volunteering, service organizations that we have in terms of clubs. So really that give back to the community to help lift everyone.
So now the school year's coming to a close. The seniors are gone soon. The rest of your students will conclude their 2024-2025 school year. So when does that change for the educators? When you get to this point of the year, how do you get yourself to the finish line? And then when can you take a break and relax after all these months of learning yourself?
I'll take a break when I retire. That's how that works. But
Yeah.
For our educators and our students, right, this is our last week of instruction. We have a full day of school today and tomorrow, and then we do 3 days of half days for final exams. So, at this point in time, the hard work's done. Now it's just preparing and executing to demonstrate that proficiency and mastery of knowledge. So, it's an exciting time. It can be a little stressful, but it's an exciting time. Obviously, as we go into a summer break, but also for students to show us all what they can do.
So the education never stops. You are encouraging
No.
lifelong learners, certainly at West Bloomfield High School. I know that in the school district across the board, that really is one of the hallmarks of your goals from kindergarten all the way through the conclusion of 12th grade. So as these students from the class of 2025 have now moved on, they've graduated, they're going to be going on to their work life, their continued education. What lasting message do you have for them as they take these first steps into their adult life?
Yeah, I referenced it in my speech at graduation, but it's upon them now to take what they've learned, what they know, what their experiences are, and make change for the better. They have all the tools. They've demonstrated that time and again, and we're looking for people who are gonna let their voice be heard, fight for things that matter. And if you look around you throughout the world, we're in need of people who want to give back to the community and who want to lead us to be unified and to make change for the better, no matter what that is. And so I think this group is well prepared to do that, and I just can't wait to see it happen.
More information on the West Bloomfield High School class of 2025 can be found on WBSD.org. You can also follow them for more information on things happening across the school district on Facebook at West Bloomfield Schools. Principal Eric Pace from West Bloomfield High School with us as we look back on the graduating class of 2025. Principal Pace, before we let you go, anything else you'd like to say today?
I really wanted to say thanks to our community. The way that they show up at our events and support us through either financial sponsorships for different events or, service. It's really nice to work jointly as a community. So from those that are retired and in their final home, or those that are just moving into the township and all the businesses in between, it really is nice to work in a community where we're all on the same page in terms of developing our young leaders and sending them out to the world to do great things.
That conversation certainly continues on WBSD.org and at all their events all throughout the year, including the first time you'll get to see kind of the whole community come together at Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School this fall. Principal Pace, thank you so much for your time today.
Anytime, Tyler. Thank you.